What's up, party people? Welcome back into First Take on this Friday. We're getting ready for another 60 minutes. Stephen A., what's on your mind as we approach hour two?
Well, you know, I've been attacked on many, many occasions.
You attacked?
I mean, I know it's hard to believe.
Such a victim.
It's hard to believe, you know, but I've been attacked, and people have gotten on me because they're tired of hearing me say stay off the weed. I've decided to address America on that particular subject about puffing and passing. I think it's necessary. I think my counsel is needed. I'm here for you.
I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this subject.
That's my final take.
Because sometimes you say stuff and people go, what is he smoking?
Yeah.
No, they never say that about
Well
me.
done, Max.
Never say that about me.
What are you hot on, hour two?
You know, the thing I can't believe that's going on right now is that people are actually questioning whether or not Nick Saban's decisions are in the best interests of his team winning a championship. That's what's actually happening. I have a few choice words about that.
Asinine, or Stephen would say acetone. All right, speaking of that subject, you might think this about Stephen A's rankings. We asked the guys to rank the NFC playoff quarterbacks in a win-or-go-home situation, and Max has Eli ranked third behind Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, while Stephen A has Eli ranked fifth ahead of only Matthew Stafford. Max, your thoughts on Mr. Smith's rankings? He put together that cute little list.
I think, Stephen A., you are making the mistake many people make when they're asked to evaluate the quality of a player heading into a game. You are doing that in the context of his team. So you are giving Dak Prescott a lot of credit for his offensive line, and you're taking it away from Eli. If the question is which quarterback will put up the best numbers or something like that, I can go with your list, but that's not the question. It's which quarterback, not quarterback and offensive line and weapons and everything would you rather have. And I will take the two-time Super Bowl MVP ahead of everyone except maybe the best quarterback I've ever seen in Aaron Rodgers, also a Super Bowl champion, and also the very underrated and very great Russell Wilson playing behind a bad offensive line with a banged-up team, also a Super Bowl champion. Otherwise, I take Eli ahead of everybody.
Max Kellerman, you know, we get older. We get wiser. We experience a few things and what have you. And some of us are very, very reluctant to let go of old times. We have to get slapped, figuratively speaking, to our senses. And I think that's the case with you when it comes to Eli Manning. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a New Yorker. Love the New York teams. Not as much as I love the Steelers, but I love the New York teams. But when I think about Eli Manning, I'm not just thinking about the dude that's missed the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years before this year. I'm thinking about the dude who was also the #1 overall pick, who I dare say, even with 2 Super Bowl rings, has not lived up to expectations because of the amount of time he spent outside of the playoffs. Now, they won their 2 Super Bowl rings. He showed up when it counted, but I make the contention that they rode the coattails of their defense to those championships. Their defense was big time. But also, let's take this season into account. We'll ignore the fact that Eli's led the league in interceptions on 3 separate occasions, that they've missed the playoffs more than they've made it. We'll do all of that. We'll look strictly at this season, and we'll sit there and take into account father time, attrition, and beyond. Eli Manning, over the last 10 weeks, has thrown for 300 yards or more once. And in that game, it was a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he threw 3 interceptions. In that same game, he threw over 300 yards. So it is possible, and I understand that we can look at it and say, well, look, he's been out of the playoffs, but when he shows up in the playoffs, look out. Fair enough. We shall see this Sunday. But it is possible that the Eli Manning that we have been seeing, that has found a way to come up short, where the defense has come to the rescue on several occasions, could very well be that same Eli again. So when I look at it and I compare it to the other quarterbacks, there's no denying how Dak Prescott has looked. There's no denying that Matt Ryan, with 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 117 quarterback rating, a QBR of 85, has looked well. It doesn't matter. There's no denying how Aaron Rodgers has looked. When we look at Russell Wilson and the wheels that are on him and what he's capable of doing as a dual threat, because he's not a stationary target like Eli Manning, we can't ignore that. And so I look at it from that perspective, and I say, listen, that doesn't mean that Eli can't get it done. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to stink up the joint or whatever. I'm saying that the specter of that possibility is enough for me to sit up there and say, even though I got my questions about Matt Ryan now, okay, based on what we have seen going into these playoffs, why can't I have more confidence in the previous 4 dudes than I do in Eli Manning?
What you're reacting to, and this is a legitimate concern for Giants fans, Molly, is the difference between this Giants team and the Giants teams that succeeded in the playoffs behind Eli Manning, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, is that they had a real offensive line. David Diehl, all those guys, and they could play all over the line, and they were really good, and they had continuity and played together for a number of years, and they had a running game, you know, Bradshaw and Jacobs, and they could get it done. And this team is not that team offensively, and that puts them behind the 8 ball in certain ways. There's no doubt about it. But in terms of the quarterback you want, I mean, the reason he's throwing interceptions is because he has to throw it a lot. And because Eli's the same thing that makes him dangerous in the playoffs. He don't care, man. He's going to try to win the game. He might lose it, but it gives him a shot to win. If you're just talking about the guy you want under center, take away all the other variables. There's Aaron Rodgers, 1. And by the way, Russell Wilson, 2. And both those guys can run and throw and have Super Bowl experience. Then there's Eli. You would not rather have anyone else than that guy under these circumstances.
The only thing I'd like to add is this. There's a difference between the guy you want most and the guy you fear. There's every reason to fear Eli, because if Eli gets it going, he can take you up. He can take you up out of here. But is that the guy you want? Because he is a wild card. He's a wild card.
Yes, he does well. He does well as a wild card.
How many times has Dak played in the playoffs?
None.
Yeah, and you're going to put him ahead of Eli. A 2-time Super Bowl MVP.
I'm going to put him ahead of Eli.
He's proven nothing. You're the one that always talks about history.
You want me to go there?
I do.
I am going.
And Matt Ryan, who's 1-4 in the playoffs. Why you trust him more in a win-or-go-home situation?
I am going there. I specifically said Ryan has the most pressure out of any quarterback. I explained this yesterday. Dak Prescott, we haven't seen anything yet, but I don't have to depend as much on him because I got that offensive line with that running game.
Okay.
Where I'm concerned about is that the Giants really don't have much of a running game. Their success is predicated primarily on their defense and offensively, their passing attack. Eli Manning.
So it's less about Eli, it's more about the team situation then.
Eli Manning is going to have to throw the football to win. Dak might not have to do that to win.
So it's
and so when I look at it from that perspective, and I combine that not with history, but I combine that with what you've done this season, I have been making the argument for weeks that Eli doesn't look the same to me.
Because he doesn't have any protection.
Wait a minute.
Even a running game.
Listen, he hasn't had protection in years past, even when they've missed a play.
And he's had some bad seasons.
He's had but there are times.
I hope the Giants are listening right now.
There have been times where he's had a pretty good season despite the suspect offensive line, suspect running game, and missing the playoffs because their defense was so putrid. I know what I'm looking at, and I'm simply saying he doesn't look the same. That's what I'm challenging y'all as Giants fans.
We will see.
He doesn't look the same.
We will see. Stafford,
Eli does not look the same.
I think he just doesn't have.
I don't agree with that. He doesn't have time.
He doesn't have time to throw. The receivers can't get in their routes.
Hold on, time out. All of these 6 of the last 7 years that they missed the playoffs, as Giant fans, devout Giant fans, who watches every game of this. Hold on, I'm asking a question, Molly. I'm asking a question, okay? He's missed the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years. At no time in that span, Molly, are you telling me that the offensive line was a suspect and the running game was absent?
No, it was.
And he still balled.
No, he had.
So he
had
still
some years that looked like this.
Yeah.
I know that, but he also had years where he did.
I want to get back. Hold on.
Even though they were successful, they weren't successful.
I want to get back to Stafford, and I want to get back to Matt Ryan because Dak is a rookie. Although Dak's got that look about him. Like sometimes you see that guy looks like a winner, usually playing behind a great line with a running back, by the way. That looks like a winner usually. Matt Ryan has been unbelievable this year. No doubt about it. So is Matthew Stafford. Even with a bad finger, when you add it all up, that's MVP caliber play that hasn't been Eli.
Stafford has not looked the same since his finger.
I agree. What we're asking is, but he's been out there. What we're asking is, who do you want in the playoffs?
He's 8-3.
I would not argue regular season. We're talking playoffs. Rodgers, Wilson, Eli, Super Bowl champs.
I'm making the argument that Eli Manning this year has not looked the same to me. Period.
Chelsea, I can't wait to see you on Monday. I'll see you in Tampa.
We'll
That'll
see.
be great. Moving on, though, one of the biggest stars in entertainment is here, Ice Cube. There he is.
Yay, yay.
He'll chat with us when we come back. Looking forward to that. Plus, Joe Mixon declares for the NFL draft, but should any teams take a chance on the running back with a troubled past? Paul Feinbaum joins us to talk about Mixon's future.
When they suspended him for a year and let him come back, and by the way, he helped lead them to the playoffs last year and to the Sugar Bowl this year, they apparently said, okay, it doesn't matter. We got the most important.